The base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is a Thursday, U.S. Open Cup last night. Chaos everywhere, especially here in Nashville, where John and I still are. Jarrett is not, but you can't see him anyway, so it doesn't really make much of a difference, does it? He looks the same no matter where he is, right, Jarrett?
Generally, yeah. I have not perfected changing my appearance in that way yet. I'm working on
It's called turning your camera on, but that's how it goes. It's okay.
We don't do that here.
I know.
Well, no, actually, we do that when we have to flex on everybody. That's pretty much it.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, it's become a gimmick and it's ridiculous.
You're welcome.
But it's okay. Whatever. John and I are still in Nashville, heading out of here after the show, and it was a wild ride last night because it was about as good of a start as you could have scripted to the match for Atlanta United, and as bad of a rest of it as you could have scripted. First 45, I'll take that. I'll lock that one away and be very happy with it. The rest of the match was a brutal, brutal night. All kinds of different crazy things happening in this. I hate to talk as much as we do about referees, but the referee is going to have to be talked about in this one, although it did not decide the outcome of the match. It made the match worse, in my opinion. It detracted from two good teams that were very evenly matched on the night, that as the longer it went, the more it went towards Nashville. We don't have any updates on Andrew Gutman, of course. I mean, you can't really expect to have any on that just yet, because team traveled back to Atlanta last night after the match. He's probably going to be checked out at some point today. I honestly don't know kind of even where to isolate the actual injury. I went back and watched it a number of times. First off, I'm shocked there wasn't a yellow card on the hit from Todd Bryant and Unga. It was very late, and I thought he actually stomped on his foot. Sends Gutman flying, and it's in the right shoulder is the all we can really tell. I don't know if it's ligament damage in the shoulder or issues in the shoulder, or if it's more structural. But it was a very awkward landing, and that was part of Atlanta losing their mojo as the night went on, and they did, and they could not hold on to this. They tried everything that they had to hold on to it, and a young team that made some big mistakes in big moments, and this is what happens. Nashville, who is comfortable doing what they did last night, and they made the game very simple when they weren't able to get control of it, playing in any way really other than being very direct and looking for the knockdowns and just making Atlanta's backline have to defend long balls. Well, it worked. It was a strategy that worked for Gary Smith. I thought they might have actually oversimplified it when they went to two up top, but it's a credit to Ethan Zubak, who had only played 2 minutes in MLS prior to this season. And he comes in and he really changed the game for them up top. Akiloba didn't really give them much. CJ Sapong gave them about what he typically does. But Zubak made it work. I thought dropping Hani Mukhtar behind those front two when they played long would actually hurt them a little bit, because Mukhtar was a problem for Atlanta most of the night, really playing in a free role and dragging defenders, and then they have to try to communicate and trade him off as he goes into a different area. It was really difficult because if you come up with a position name for Hani Mukhtar, what he was playing in this, good luck. It wasn't just up top. It wasn't a 10. It wasn't wide. It was everywhere. And it became very difficult to deal with because he's a top player. When they changed to two up top, it became more obvious of what they were going to do, but it was still effective. And Zubak was the one who, not as dynamic with how much ground he can cover and how many different things he can do, but he did take it wide from time to time. He did not just stand up there and wait for a long ball. And he's the one who gets in behind ultimately and scores the winner early in extra time. Atlanta had chances after that. Crazy deflection that ended up going off the crossbar. I think it had beat Willis, gets over him, hits the crossbar from Araujo, who was determined to put the team on his back and drag them back to 3-3. Just couldn't find the way to get it done. So I know there are takes, and I know there's going to be lots of things to talk about. There were other wild games last night as well. We're going to talk to Jessica Charman in the second hour. Charlotte was up 1-0, came back to 1-1 in Richmond, and then went on a goal-scoring tear to end up winning that one big. We're going to talk to Niko Moreno at the end of the day, and I hope that he is up and ready to talk about this, because I get back to the hotel after everything at the stadium thinking like, oh, okay, all the games are done. Let me see what the scores are. What is going on in Seattle? And I got to see the end of the shootout that concluded with the classic goalkeeper save and conversion to win. Jarrett Smith, you doubted your Quakes, and they won.
They did. By the way,
Yes.
the U.S. Open Cup's not done yet.
No.
Because at
There's
1
more
o'clock
chaos
today, Minnesota and Colorado have to finish their game.
Good point. Yeah, that was one that we didn't know what was going on from that one as we were watching the game play out in front of us. And I finally get a picture of what happened in St. Paul, and the field's underwater. It looked like Silverbacks Park for a minute.
Thank God everyone was okay, because it sounds like the weather was horrendous.
It was.
But what in the hell happened in Seattle last night? Good God. I was like planning to go to sleep and just deal with this today. And then I'm like, oh, well, yeah, San Jose is up 2-0. Well, this is oh no, it's 2-2. Oh, now we're going to penalty. Oh, we're gonna take double-digit penalties. All right. San Jose is never played a normal game.
No.
They're getting some of they're you know what, they're getting some of this Matias Almeida out of their blood as he's gone now. But the problem is that you can try as you might, you won't get all of it out of your blood. It's still, some of that's still going to hang in there.
It's okay to have a little crazy in your
It is
blood.
okay.
It is
And they
perfectly
do,
fine.
buddy.
They
They
absolutely do. One of my favorite descriptions of the goalkeeper from last night for San Jose, the backup goalkeeper for them. He looks like the grown-up version of the bad guy from the cartoon Doug.
Roger Klotz.
Yes, it was Roger Klotz who makes the save and then converts for San Jose in the shootout. I got back to the hotel here in Nashville and was starving because first time in the new stadium, Geodis Park, and amazing stadium. I can't wait to see it next week full. It still sounded loud in the building with the crowd that was on hand. They didn't sell the upper level of the stadium for this midweek game. We talked about it yesterday with everything being focused on the opening and in season ticket sales. This was a low priority, just sale and probably purchase thing for them. People who said, I don't know if I'm going to go to an Open Cup game. I'll just wait for the next regular season game. They missed out. They absolutely missed out on a wild night. But it was a little chaotic for us. First time there, getting everything set up. Didn't get a chance to eat anything there. Had a busy day yesterday, so had a late lunch, and that was not holding me over after 120 minutes and trying to decipher everything. So get back to the hotel, and luckily one of the bars here in the Opryland Resort was still open and was serving food. So I had possibly the greatest cheeseburger of my life because I was that hungry. And grabbed a beer. And what's crazy about Atlanta United fans is they're everywhere. I'm getting a beer. I'm ticked off about the way the game went. I'm just starving, and look across the bar, and there's two Atlanta United fans in jerseys and gear hanging out. They waved, went over and talked to them. Great couple. They were up here for a conference and had a chance to go to the game, and we were all commiserating after that one. But after that, and while I'm eating my burger, just trying to recover, I check the scores. I see what's going on in San Jose. I pull the game up on my phone, and I didn't want to jinx it by saying anything about the goalkeeper penalties coming up. I was like, oh, we're going to get there. Are we going to get there? And then we get there, and it's just a wonderful capper to a ridiculous night in the Open Cup. And the round isn't even done yet, as Jarrett reminds us about Minnesota and Colorado. Oh, the magic of the Cup, right?
Magic of the redacted
of
cup.
the present participle redacted cup.
Yeah.
I was just going to go
So,
with blanking, but that's fine. If you want to get grammatical with it, go
My
ahead.
mother was an English.
I'm going to get grammatical with it. My mother was a news director.
Yeah, that's fine.
Between the two of us, you're going to get it correct.
No, that's completely fine.
And it is. The magic of the cup, man. I'll tell you though, the I think my takeaway from it last night was, as you get into the later game, I think to your point, after the game they failed to see it out. I think it's one of those situations though that it really stings not having a Brad Guzan, an Ozzie Alonso, an Andrew Gutman, those veteran guys,
Miles Robinson.
Miles Robinson, the veteran.
It's a long list.
Yeah, but the guys you are missing aren't just a bunch of young guys. They're your veteran rocks who, when things get tight, when things get tough late, the guys who you lean on and who players look to in those leadership roles. I give all the credit in the world to Luis Araujo, though, because he was trying to be that guy.
He was
pumping them up, really embracing that role. I give him a ton of credit for the work he was trying to do in that, and the fact that he was running his ass off in the 120th minute. I don't know how he wasn't dead. But yeah, I mean, you got into a late game situation against a team that's more comfortable in that situation. They put one into the mixer and it goes in the back of the net. And yep, there you go. And we once it got past 90 minutes, I was thinking, just get this thing to penalties, because I figured Atlanta. You're also to the fact that you have George Campbell and Emerson Hyndman aren't supposed to be playing that many minutes at that point.
Yeah, and that's something Gonzalo Pineda mentioned afterwards. Didn't say Hyndman by name, but he did say George by name. That wasn't the plan, was to play him as long as he did, but he came out of it well, and I thought George played well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because it's tough. You're coming back from injury, and you're forced into those situations. And I mean, at that point, I was thinking, like, let's just get this thing to penalties if we can, and we'll see what the hell happens from there. It's disappointing though, because yeah, you had the great start. The penalty gives Nashville life. I think if you had seen out if you'd have gotten it to 50, if you got it to 55 or 60 minutes at 2-0, I think you'd have been in good shape, because I think Nashville would have thrown their best punch and you would have ridden it out. But you get the penalty that Hani Mukhtar was just riding that emotion, hyping up the crowd. The crowd leaned into it. And from there it was, now you're just hanging on with one hand to a Bronco.
Yeah. Nashville should have equalized earlier. It's a bad call from the referee crew that was not clear at all in the building as to what was going on. There was a pick thrown. That's not the signal that the AR made. The AR was making an offside signal. I think it was very late the way he made it. And Michael Parkhurst gave an explanation on Twitter that is really the best explanation that I have seen. The player's trying to throw the pick, starts the whole sequence before the ball's delivered offside. He does throw a pick. I mean, you could have called a foul for that, and that would have made more sense and been more justifiable, even if it was soft, but it didn't stop from giving a penalty earlier, because I thought the penalty was soft. There was another challenge that the second one where Mukhtar went down and made a meal of it, that I think was more of a penalty than the one that was actually called. It was a little bit more towards the back than to the side. So it was wildly inconsistent. But taking the Zimmerman goal off, which would have given Nashville more time to possibly find a winner, it affected it. It's a bad call. Were there bad calls the other way too? Yeah, there was bad management of the game. I thought Ty Brian Anunga should have been on a yellow card probably before the tackle on Gutman that should have been a yellow card. And then he finally gets a yellow card and he commits a potential yellow card foul immediately after getting a yellow card. It was allowed a lot of physicality, and it
Hell, the scissor tackle at the end of the game was an orange card. It was horrendous.
That's the other one. God, I didn't even get to that one. There were so many with him. The tackle very late at midfield was nasty. There were a bunch of things.
I'm thinking of the scissor tackle at the very, very end where Araujo earns the free kick.
Oh yeah,
which I mean that's
There's
just
that one. That wasn't Anunga. Sorry, there was a tackle from Anunga near midfield where he went flying in late, and Atlanta United player goes flying because of it. That should have been another yellow. I don't think that was even called a foul. The scissor tackle, I can't remember who it was on Araujo that led to the free kick. Yes, that was bad.
I mean, I get why you're making that foul there because you don't want him to beat you. Right. And he had beat you on the dribble. Yeah. You're fouling him before he can get in the box.
Yes.
No, look, I mean, fouls are part of the game. That's fine.
It's not like tackle.
Right. It's not like Nashville's, but they're mean guys because they committed fouls and they play physical. No, they play what the referee gives you. Mm-hmm. And the referee was in this one wildly inconsistent, but leaning towards allowing a lot of stuff that, frankly, I didn't think he should have. I thought the game was too big for the referee crew. I thought they handled the big moments of the match poorly. I thought they handled the emotion of the match poorly, but they did not decide the outcome. Nashville would have had the more high-profile gripe if they had not gotten a result here because of the goal that was called back on Zimmerman. It was just bad. It was just a bad setup with that crew. They're not ready for this level. A couple other things from Gonzalo Pineda quickly, and then John, you were down there for it, so you can kind of give us a little bit of more of the mood and vibe. Gonzalo talked about how in the mistakes, he talked about set pieces, and he talked about the long throw-in specifically. I mentioned it on the radio call, and I'm not sure how clear it was if you watched on ESPN Plus. There were two long throw-in moments back-to-back. The second one ends up leading to the equalizing goal. And the referee, who had been very strict on taking set pieces and throws from where they needed to be taken, blew it on both of them. Just absolutely blew it. I yelled about it on the radio call because the first one from our near side where we were, Romney goes up after being told not to 10 yards and throws it in. A throw-in, moving up 10 yards, normally not a big deal. When it's Dave Romney throwing it into the 18, that 10 yards helps get it to the 18. He did the exact same thing on the opposite side. And the opposite side one was the most frustrating. One, it ends up leading to the equalizer. But two, I was watching the referee to see if they were paying attention to this. And the referee, when Romney gets ready to take the throw and he's got the ball in his hands, the referee turns his back to Romney and is watching the 18. He knows it's going to be a long throw. Well, then Romney moves up about 10 yards and takes a throw from closer to the 18-yard box, which allows him again to get the throw into the 18 and create that chaos. Now, Pineda talked about they worked on that. They worked on dealing with long throws. They've worked on set pieces. He's frustrated because they didn't deal with it. They didn't deal with it. They get a half clear. It ends up coming to the far side. Anunga puts in a cross/shot/ put it in there and see what happens. And CJ Sapong gets to the spot and puts it home. And it's another situation with a recycled set piece that ends up coming to the opposite side of where it was originally delivered from and put back in. And Atlanta doesn't handle coming across to it and adjusting to it. Pineda was very frustrated about that, frustrated about mistakes, frustrated about losing possession and dropping back deeper. And that wasn't the plan. I think he had to make adjustments as that became evident as to where the game was going for Atlanta. Is it tired legs for Atlanta? Is it the mentality with a young team and maybe getting a little worried in that situation when Nashville pulled it to 2-1? I think all of the above are very possible. I thought the team did get tired for sure. It was pretty obvious from watching it. I do think they dropped off because they got worried, concerned, scared, whatever word you want to use. They got worried about where the game was going. And instead of stepping up to get back to what was working well, which was staying on the ball, getting into the attacking half, knocking it around, they started to drop more and more. And that, according to Pineda, was not the game plan. Once you see that, though, that's where the mentality on the field is, you got to adjust to it. and you go to the 3 center backs and bring on Campbell, which I thought was the right move at that stage. But this is what happens in these games, right? When you do those things and you try to see a game out, and again, I think that's what he had to do based off what was already happening in the game. They don't see it out. Then you've pulled attacking players. Then you're trying to reshape and restructure. I thought they might be able to exploit Nashville, who had to do the opposite. They pulled a center back. They had to go for it. They don't play a line of 4 very often. Nashville didn't look all that convincing defending later on, but everybody was tired. And Atlanta couldn't really get much out of it other than Araujo making something happen individually. He was asked if the heat affected the team's play. I think Hosetsu talked about it as well, said that, it was hot. Pineda said it didn't affect their play. I think it affected their fatigue over time. I think it did wear them down a little bit. It wore us down in the broadcast booth, so we weren't running around. What else did you take away from what Pineda said, John, and just the vibe of the conversation?
Yeah, obviously disappointed by the result, and it was a common theme in what we got from Gonzalo Pineda and from Mateus Hosetsu, who came out after, is that, as a young team, one of the biggest things that they've got to look at is maintaining their focus over 90 minutes. Gonzalo Pineda said that they got away from their game plan and got away from their mental mindset after the PK that made it 2-1. And Mateus, after the match, he said that's the little details for a young team. It's those little details and maintaining your focus for a full 90 minutes. They understand that they've got to be more consistent, and you can't concede goals in situations like that. The other thing was in the second half, they also recognized, and Gonzalo and Mateus both recognized, that they weren't making those runs in behind in the second 45 like they were making in the first 45.
Yeah.
And that was, when you stop making those runs behind against Nashville, then once again, it's something that they've got to learn. But it was a young team that didn't have all of its pieces there, and they understand that it's stuff that they got to work on.
Yeah, it's not just a learning thing, I don't think. I think there is a mentality thing in this right now, and you've lost a lot of players who shape the mentality. Miles Robinson maybe doesn't shape it with words, but he shapes it with his game. You can be riskier with Miles. He can clean things up with the range that he has. It's not a knock on Alex DeJohn, but he doesn't have that same range. So you have to maybe think as a player, okay, we got to drop. We got to be a little more careful here. We don't have number 12 on. All right. And they started to do that more and more, especially after getting it to 2-1. And I don't think it was an instruction. And there was nothing from what Hosetsu and Pineda said afterwards that would indicate that. I think it was a reaction with losing Miles and trying to figure out how to play defensively with that. Not having the Josephs, the Alonsos, the Gazans, who help keep the mentality strong in moments like this and keep pushing the team forward, so they don't drop back and do that. And I do think they were tired. I do think it took a good bit out of them. It was the hottest game they've played this season. It's midweek after a game on the weekend. I didn't think they had to expend a ton of energy against Chicago, especially in the second half, but they still had to play, and it took more out of them. Nashville wasn't fresh as a daisy either. Let's not act like they were. It was tough.
Well, they were dragging at the end. I mean, they were able to see it out, but
yeah,
you could see it in the way they were trying to defend. They were stepping in the midfield. They were burning every bit of energy they had to get it there.
Both teams are gonna suffer this weekend because of what they had to do here. That's gonna happen. There's no way around this stuff. And I think when you have that loss of individual in Robinson, the loss of mentality, and in that moment where you're up 2-0 and you give up the goal and it gets to 2-1 and you get shaky, the reaction wasn't what it needed to be. Now, you are going to learn from this. You are going to adapt to this. This is an opportunity for Pineda and the coaching staff to sit down with some of these guys who are going to be shaping the mentality now going forward and talk through it and say, look, this is where, yes, you're tired. Yes, you're concerned because it falls to 2-1. We understand that, but you have to keep being Atlanta United in those moments. You can't be something you're not. This isn't a team that's built to drop everybody behind the ball and play in that manner. They didn't build the team that way. That's not what they work on. That's not what they do. You can't do that. You need to get back to who you are and be in the attacking half. That pressure in the first half that was so good off the ball, that was wrecking everything Nashville was wanting to do in terms of knocking the ball around. They just gave the ball away a bunch of times because they didn't want to get caught. It was great pressure. Got to play in the other half, and they just couldn't do that as the night went on for a lot of reasons. But ultimately what it does is it costs them the result, Jared.
It did. And to your point, I mean, it's not who you are. It's not that direct comparison. So, man, God, we're gonna open this can. I'm gonna open this can. Why not?
Boy. Here we go.
It's like if you're asking a Bielsa team to do something they're not. I mean, it's not in your DNA to do that, and you can cross the sports if you want to with other sports and the way that teams change the way they do things. It's not who you are.
It's like a team that doesn't run the ball well in American football, and it's trying to protect the lead late.
That was going to be my next analogy. It's like asking the Atlanta Falcons to run the football.
Or Manchester United bringing in Ralph Rangnick.
That's just miserable.
That's an entirely different stupid thing. That has nothing to do with this. Sorry, John.
Yeah, it's that was not startling, but that did pop my eyebrow up reading those quotes from Pineda that, this, like, hey, that's not what we wanted to do. And guys are going to have to embrace, they're going to have to embrace a word that Jack Collison's used a lot in the last 2 years, and is bravery. And that is, you're up a goal, they're going for it. You can't be scared and get in a shell because you're not that team. You're going to have to be brave and play your style. And if you get burned, you get burned. I mean, you're going to have to execute, but you're going to have to show some bravery in those moments. And you're going to have to learn from, what happened late in that game and in extra time. Again, I have run out of things to say about Luis Araujo because he is everything that you wanted him to be and more. He is explosive. He currently has Walker Zimmerman's soul in his back pocket. He gets to keep that now.
I think Walker was able to steal it back by the end of the night.
I don't think so.
I'm
not giving it back.
Finders keepers.
I think Walker stole it. I think he got into the locker room and stole it when Luis wasn't looking.
Of what? Just one of the most beautiful little pop-up goals you're ever going to see. But that dude has been everything you wanted to be and more. He produces on the field. He tried to grab that leadership role when there was a vacuum for it last night and drag guys forward and drag guys emotionally through it.
I don't know if it was clear on the televised broadcast, but there was a corner when Campbell was subbed
where he was jacking everybody up, and
he went and was like making eye contact with almost everybody on the field. And when Campbell comes on, he does the same with him. And he was trying. He pointed to his head multiple times. Like I think he was trying to say, like, be smart in these moments. And you mentioned being brave. That's not something that happens overnight for everybody, especially when you're missing some of those guys who bring you a good bit of that bravery. I want to read the section of the conversation from last night afterwards with Pineda to give a little more insight on this. He said, I felt we lost a little bit of the possession, started to drop back. They were very direct. The moments when we started to press, they would just kick long balls, and that was causing us problems. I wanted to be a little more in the middle third with a middle block. So I'm going to pause it there for a second. If Nashville's not going to play and they're going to play long, and that's what they started to do as the night went on, okay, your press isn't going to be effective. So it doesn't make sense to press up high if they're just going to bomb it over that. They're going to skip it. Then you don't have numbers back. That's not being defensive. That's just understanding, like, we're wasting time here. He wanted to be better in the middle block, in the middle third, not drop more numbers to the defensive third. They kept dropping to the defensive third. He said, at times we looked solid, especially when we had to bring George Campbell on as a back line of five. We solidified the game in that part. I agree with that. Just the lack of possession I wasn't happy with. When we have to connect certain passes and we lose possession, we gave them the opportunity to come right back and attack. I felt like those are the moments of concentration that I'm talking about. It's just about defending well or the angles. It's I think he said it's not just about defending well or the angles. It's about not sustaining possession of the ball in certain areas and progressing forwards. Stop attacking, basically. And that's what worries me a little bit. In those moments, we need more composure on the ball and don't give the ball away so easily. He did mention in the second half that they had moments, and the one that created the 1v1 with Cisneros and the goalkeeper where Zimmerman recovered and made a good play. He said, but after that, we stopped doing those types of plays. Again, kudos to Nashville. You do have to take that part into it again as well, because you're not playing a team of crash test dummies here singing, You're not doing that. You're playing a team that's very good. And Nashville was very good after they were not very good to start the game. They showed that mentality. They showed the team that, look, we knew who they were. We knew what they were going to bring to it. And they bounced back after a very bad start. They come out in the second half. I thought the first 15, 20 minutes were key to not concede. He conceded. That's when everything started to drop deeper. That's when Nashville got bigger and bigger and grew into the game. Nashville's a very good team in those moments. They're going to be a team that has a lot to say about who wins MLS Cup this year, in my opinion. They're going to be a team that can win the West now that they have their home games in front of them after 8 to start the season on the road. But Atlanta still could have won this. Even playing a good team on the road, the odds were what they were. I think they were a fair reflection of the match. Atlanta was an underdog. You come out as an underdog and you get a 2-goal lead. Even being the underdog, you got to find a way to see that out against a good team, because they're not going to just roll over. That's not who Nashville is. And full credit to them. Full credit to them for finding their pathway through. And I didn't think that was necessarily going to be the pathway. I thought it would be more on Mukhtar that would be the one to decide this. And he had a hand in it, of course, because he earns a penalty, he converts it, he slips a pass through to Zubac. But where Nashville turned the game, it wasn't Mukhtar pushing everybody back and creating a bunch of opportunities. It was the direct play. It was Atlanta dropping off. It was Atlanta not being able then to play out and keep possession and get into the attacking half and get set up in that middle third. And Nashville wore Atlanta down. Those long balls wore Atlanta down. And Jarrett, the way you mentioned it with, if you're a Bielsa team, for example, and then you drop off and you don't find a way to find a spot where you can be yourself. If they're going to skip and you can't press, okay, you got to deal with that. But it's not to completely drop off and then not try to play out, not try to keep possession. When you try to do something that you're not, generally in some of these moments, you're not going to do well. And as the night went on, Atlanta did not look like themselves, and Nashville looked more like themselves as the night went on. Once the goal happened, though, it's almost like Nashville did that, and they're more comfortable dropping off and defending from deep. But it gave Atlanta some opportunities. I just don't think they had the legs to do it. Araujo, man, I don't know where he found the energy, but there wasn't a whole lot else on the field at that point. Lennon was working hard. He was trying to make some of those runs in behind, especially when, and I thought it was, I do want to talk about it really quickly before we get a couple questions. Once you're having to readjust all this stuff on the fly, I mean, you're already adjusting because of injuries. You already have to adjust when Gutman goes out and you bring Ronald Hernandez over to the left. I thought it was a tough night for Ronald in general. You bring him over to the left. Then you're playing with a line of 5, 3 center backs. You don't want Lennon and Hernandez to stay back super deep. You want them to get up higher into the field. You weren't able to do it, so you're playing a line of 5. You concede. It's 3-2. You got to go for it. I thought it was a really interesting call and ultimately the right one to play Alan Franco as a right back in a line of 4. Lennon pushed up higher. I thought maybe Campbell would push into the midfield at that point, but you needed Campbell with recovering from injury fresh legs, which is not normal fresh legs, but it was better than what DeJohn had at that point because he was gassed. I mean, DeJohn gave you everything he had. It was better to keep Campbell in the center to give you a little of what you've lost with Miles in terms of having range to recover, and he made a couple of big plays like that. Franco actually got forward. He earned a corner at one point. He did cause problems as a right back attacking. I don't think Alan Franco's ever played right back in a competitive match, but you're out of subs. That's what you got to do. It's what you do. He reacts really well to it. Lennon's then trying to get in behind, and he just could not find the connections and the combinations. And that's where it goes. You're out of the Open Cup. The 3-year reign is over. Did it get to over in 900 days, I think, since somebody else won this trophy?
That sounds right, yeah.
I know it was over 800.
It's been a minute.
Somewhere in there. It's been a while, late 2019. It's going to be a new one this year. We will have the draw later today. Are they doing the draw before the Minnesota-Colorado game finishes? I guess just the winner of that will go into some pot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the draw, I believe, is at noon.
Yeah.
That is at 1. And if, I swear to God, get the frozen envelopes out. Give me Nashville and Lou City in the next round. I want blood.
Good grief, Jarrett.
Oh,
don't put this referee crew on that game, please.
No, you can't. You have to put, man, like, I don't know who you put on that game. Like, maybe you call.
No, you put Penso on it because Penso threw the cards around earlier. He's gone back to a little more of quick trigger Penso after last year where he didn't throw as many cards.
Well,
put Penso on it.
Call Geiger out of retirement to deal with that one.
Oh, jeez.
I know people don't like him, but they also forget that he managed that Columbia-England game really well.
He has managed games very well, yes. You need somebody who can manage the game well if it's Nashville and Lou City because good grief. And there's history there, too. Lou City knocked Nashville out of the Open Cup in 19. They don't like each other very much.
Yeah, if y'all don't, for those of you that don't have the history books in front of you, Lou City and Nashville is tense.
Yeah.
It is real tense.
That's there for Nashville.
That's spicy.
All right, what do we got on the Twitch pitch? We can grab a couple before Jess joins us here in about 15, 20 minutes.
Well, to the discussion that we've been having, Turner is asking, he doesn't know how we can't get pro refs in MLS versus MLS Open Cup matches.
Okay, this is where we're messing up the terminology, and I, you know how I am about that, to be clear. The refs were pro refs. They're pro refs. Pro, the Professional Referees Organization, books MLS, USL Championship, USL League One, NISA, NWSL. They will book the USL Super League, which will be Professional Women's Division 2. They book MLS Next Pro. That's professional as well. They book all of those leagues. So these are pro refs. I think what Turner's referring to essentially is why aren't you getting MLS refs on these games? I don't know, and I'm going to check really quick if Elton Garcia, the referee here, if he had worked an MLS game in MLS League play. I do not think he has. No, he has. I'm sorry. 2020, he did. He worked 4 games in 2020. Remember 2020, the way the assignments were going, there was a little more regional consideration. So the pool changed a little bit. He's worked 8 games in USL Championship this year. He worked 16 last year, 9 in 20, 25 in 19, 12 in 18. So 77 games at the USL Championship level, 8 games in the Open Cup, possibly including last night. A couple of games in the NWSL in 2021. So it's an experienced referee at the second division level. Inexperienced at the first division level. And he was named USL Referee of the Year in 2020. So if you're looking to a referee who is on the way up, this would be one in Elton Garcia. I thought he showed he's not ready for that level last night. And if Elton Garcia's level is second division, or if he can continue to develop and get to the first division, all that's great, because you have to develop referees, and to develop referees, you have to put them in these situations. I don't think the assignment of putting him there is some shocking assignment. I don't think he delivered on the assignment, and that happens. Is it a bad day for him, or is it something more? Don't know. I haven't seen enough of his work to tell you. But last night, I thought he really struggled with a difficult game to referee. It wasn't an easy one to referee because of the physicality, because of the clash of styles, because of the conditions, because of the way the game went. It was not an easy assignment. I did not think he did well with it. But to be 100% clear, him not doing well with it did not affect the result of the match. It did not at all. And again, if if Atlanta had won that, Nashville would have had a more legitimate gripe about the Zimmerman goal not being given. I think that was one where they had already made up their mind. They didn't handle it well, because if he had called the pick, or let me be a little more clear here, if he had made it clear he was calling the pick, which he did not, it looked to everybody like he was calling offside. If he had called the pick, he would have had some justification, even if it's soft. But he didn't, or at least he didn't signal it that way, or didn't look that way. And that's one of those things as referees climb up the ladder a little bit that I think you see separate the best from the next group, is they're very good at communicating, even without words, by actions, by mannerisms, by signals, by gestures. They're very clear at communicating, not just to the players, although that's the number one thing they have to do. They have to be clear in these signals and these mannerisms and these gestures. They have to be clear in that to the benches, to the fans in the building, even if they're not necessarily going to agree, because they hardly ever do, to broadcasters, to TV audience. They have to be clear in those things to maintain control. And he struggled with that on a lot of different situations. So all I can hope for is that for a recent USL Referee of the Year, that this is a learning opportunity, and this is where I hope there are mentors. Mark Geiger would be a great one, to sit down with him and say, look, this is, we watched the game. We're going to go through it with you. We're going to give you an assessment, because, and Geiger can sit there and tell you, I've done these games. England, Colombia, 2018 World Cup, many others like that. I've done that kind of game. It's hard. I gotcha. But here's what you've got to do differently next time. That's the process that has to happen. And we can't complain about not having enough good referees, but then complain about not giving young up-and-coming referees assignments. But this is what happens. This is the trade-off sometimes. And I thought it was a bad night for the referee and the crew. But it did not affect the result by any stretch. He made bad calls all the way across the board, and I thought he, more than anything, struggled with the management of the match.
GH with a point and a follow-up. GH, like the first 45, we dominated, meaning Atlanta United, dominated them like I've never seen before, as we never dominated against a bunkering team since Chicago. But we switched off on the second half, and the fact we didn't have enough bench was frustrating.
Well, I mean, I don't know what's frustrating about the bench, other than, I mean, that's what you have right now. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. That's just,
you're already digging into the bedrock of your depth.
Yeah,
it sucks.
You can be frustrated in that you wish you'd had other opportunities, but nobody did something wrong on that. This is where I'm at. Nashville didn't bunker too much early. They're a little bit of a Jekyll or Hyde team. At home, they're not as much of a bunkering team. On the road, they are. They will look to press at times. I thought when they did press with three across the front, they were pretty good, and they were disruptive to Atlanta building out of the back. And that's maybe one reason why Atlanta's possession was lost and wasn't sharp and wasn't getting into the attacking half cleanly. When Loba, Hawkinson, and Mukhtar pressed, Hawkinson a lot of times would jump up to the right side. Mukhtar through the middle, Loba would move over to the left. That's effective, and it's something you work on to have that kind of synchronicity, like where you're having a forward move wider, second forward /10/trequartista, whatever we want to call what Mukhtar was doing in the middle, and then a central midfielder push high to the right. You've worked on that. I thought Hawkinson was really good. He's a good player. He's somebody who there's just not a pathway for him to play in Nashville on a regular basis, but he's a good, smart, savvy player. And I thought he was great in the press, and it was disruptive to Atlanta. So I agree with you. I think Atlanta was super dominant. I don't think Nashville just sat back and bunkered at home. So it wasn't quite that you were picking apart a bunkering team. I thought Atlanta's best feature in the first half, and Jared, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, was their pressure. Because Nashville did try to play. And Atlanta consistently, with Araujo, with Almada, with Moreno, were winning balls or causing turnovers with their pressure up high. And Cisneros, I thought he was great in those moments too.
Yeah, I thought they were able to force pressure. I mean, the second goal becomes off of set piece, doesn't come off. Goal kick. We're playing out. Oh God, oh God, oh God. And balls in the back of the net. Oh God, being from the Nashville point of view, because yeah, you're causing them Pressure. And it's to Gonzalo Pineda's point after the game that you're not going to press a team that's going to just go route one. And you're
Yeah.
able to step, and Nashville's going to go, well, this is the same stuff we talk about with New York Red Bulls and teams
Yeah.
like that. How do you deal with a team that's going to do that? You yeet the ball into the next county. And I mean, in Nashville is a team that can do either one. I don't think they're as good when they're building up, but they can do it.
Nashville's bet, and this is credit to Gary Smith for knowing his team.
Yeah.
His bet at halftime was, we're going to concede possession to a good team on the ball because we don't want to get caught with their pressure, which is really good tonight. We don't want to get caught turning it over in our own half. So we're willing to play it long, fight for it. We're going to win some of those, but concede possession in general to a good possession team because we think, and this is Gary Smith's thought process, we think we can be disruptive and hurt them more there than potentially being hurt by trying to play out of the back. And that's a risky move to give up possession to a team that's good on the ball. But they had, I think, fresher legs, it looked, and I think maybe he felt that. They had maybe more options to change it. And I'm sure he thought that if they get one, that's going to cause Atlanta to wobble with all of the absences. And his bet worked. It was the right game plan, and they absolutely made that work. That was a good shift from Gary Smith in the second half.
Well, like I said, I mean, I think if you had gotten to the 60th minute, you'd have been in good shape. If you could have gotten to the 60th without giving up that first goal,
Yeah.
and Nashville is throwing a big punch in the first 15 to 20 minutes, give it to the 65th minute if you want to. If you can get through that, take this back, Jason, take this back to MLS Cup 2018, where you have a lead on Portland, and Portland comes out and throws their punch in the middle of the second half, and they don't break through. And it's not apples to apples. I get it. But you throw a big punch, they're not able to break through. And then they're just kind of on tired legs after that and wondering, okay, well, now we have to kind of reassess what we're doing. But you weren't able to get to the 60th, 65th minute in this situation, unfortunately. I do, like I said, I do want to touch on the idea, yeah, Nashville can play with the ball. I mean, this is because I feel like after 2019, there was
20.
this whole conversation
20.
about what. Go ahead.
They weren't in MLS in 2019.
Oh yeah, sorry, in 2020. Sorry,
Yeah.
I feel like in 2020 it was this whole conversation about well, they're just going to sit deep and hit you on the counter, hit you on set pieces. They're more than that at this point. They can play with the ball now. They didn't stand up to pressure like the Atlanta was bringing. That's okay. A lot of teams aren't going to stand up when you've got pressure that was synced up so well like Atlanta had last night. But Nashville's ability to say, okay, we're not going to do that. We can go route one if we need to. We can go up and win the aerial duels and then go win the second ball and get somebody on the end of it. It's a good skill set for them to be able to switch gears like that. And they've got the personnel to do it.
Yeah. If you're not following narratives and actually paying attention to Nashville and the way that they've played since 2020, they definitely built back to front. They were more defensive. It worked for them. Mukhtar was not as effective then. He's gotten more effective. 2021, actually early on, I thought they were kind of reckless with going forward, and they gave up a lot of goals, and nobody really factored in what was going on with that. I think what Gary Smith was doing, and it's showing this year, in my opinion, we'll get a better sense with more home games for them. He was adding another set of tools to the toolbox. Yes, they always have the ability to defend well and defend from a deeper position and defend with a line of five. They always have that. They have the personnel to do it right now. They can play that game. But last year, when they were playing more open early, and look, he brought it back to being a little more defensive as the year went on, but they were playing more open, almost like testing the boundaries of how much they could go. And when they need to, they can play. And I think that's one reason they added Sean Davis. Didn't really have a huge factor in this game, but it's a reason why they added Davis, because he's good on the ball. but he comes from a defensive team in the Red Bulls, so he can give you both sides of it. It's a reason why Jack Mayer is playing in the back, because he is a good passer. He can do the defensive things that they need, but he's the best passer out of the back. He's passing at over 90% this season. So they have shaped a team, really with the big exception up top, because Akeloba has not delivered on the price tag they paid for him.
Yeah, last night was...
And he didn't really give you anything.
That was an opportunity for him, too.
It was,
and
yeah.
It was...
Wasn't good.
He was not taken.
I think I said earlier Mukhtar earned the penalty. It was Loba who earned the penalty. Very light contact.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, as my time is running out, I know. I'm choosing to choose violence for the rest of the 4 minutes.
Sure.
So with that amount of contact, am I going to get to hear MLS Digital Media label him as a diver too?
Probably not. They'll probably
I'm sorry. I guess that's just Brooks Lennon, because that was, has similar amount of contact. He goes down,
even possibly leaning forward, Jared.
Yes,
he might have been leaning forward when he was running. There would be no way of knowing.
Been leaning forward.
Not that I ever actually expect a legitimate answer when they do the instant replay, since all they're using it for at this point is just to banter back and forth and make up points as they go along. Whatever.
Feels that way at times, yes.
Oh, no, it feels that way all the time to me.
Okay.
They agree on like 10% of things. Usually it's, hey, we have a thing. Let's take different sides on it because this is secretly crossfire. Great.
Yeah, I was going to say it's count point or count all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Could have went first take. A little more modern reference, but that's okay. Just saying.
Yeah, well.
Anything else you want to say, Jarrett, before we kick you out?
Ricky, I'm targeting you on this. Love you, buddy. Don't be afraid to keep watching the Open Cup, because it's dumb and beautiful and fun. I know Atlanta's out of it, and you'll be sad. That's okay. It's still dumb, beautiful, fun. It will be chaotic, dumb, stupid, amazing things are going to happen. Especially if we get Nashville, Louisville City. I'll be very interested to see what happens with Charlotte, because Charlotte had their heart set on playing Atlanta, and then kind of, I think, had their heart set on playing Nashville. Now Charlotte gets put in the Northeast because the people at US Soccer don't own a map.
Because geography, yes.
No, it's because there's going to be a region where things get thrown out of whack, because if Charlotte's not in the Northeast, who is? It's not going to be San Jose.
I would have put Louisville in there.
Okay. And then you move that around, like, yeah, but you're always going to be dealing with these things. They'd be happier if they get Nashville and Louisville, by the way.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I want Nashville and Louisville. I want violence. Lou City especially is absolutely feeling themselves after the victory in Detroit City. So hell yeah, give me that. Maybe sometime, we won't get dumb 28-3 references because people are lazy and don't understand what sports are. I don't know.
Look, the game next Saturday is going to have a little extra spice to it. That's something you can definitely tell. I'm
really excited to see next Saturday, because I'm really excited to see what that building looks like full.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
That will be an awesome experience, and it looks like an awesome venue. Good on you, Nashville.
Yeah, the stadium's amazing. I will withhold my ranking until I see it full next week, but I'm very close to saying it is the best soccer-specific stadium in the country. It's an amazing venue, and it was great last night with a smaller crowd. It was very loud. I want to see it next week, though. All right, Jarrett, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. See ya.
All right. John, you got some business to do before Jess joins us. Tell everybody about our good friends at Eliminize.
I could certainly do that. No QR code available this morning because it's back home in Atlanta. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place that you need to go, it's Eliminize service. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, Eliminize has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Eliminize offers a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers, kind of the environment we like that these days. Or a very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue, different than our favorite masking agents that we have under our sink of choice, because when you take that masking agent out, you spray it in the air in whatever room you're looking for. That's all it does. It just masks the odor. It doesn't attack the problem. Eliminize's proven scientific formula attacks the problem all the way down to the molecule. pricing very, very easy, one of two ways, either by cubic feet or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place that you need to go is their website. But do us a favor. After you go to Eliminize.com, you type in the .com, go /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are contacting them from. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
Nicely done, even without the props.
Well, I did bring my copy with me, so that was
well, that's good. You should know that by now. But.
Yeah, but still, you want to make sure that you hit all of the talking points and that everything is locked in and lined up properly. You don't want to sit there and confuse them with a masking agent or something like that, or you get your cubic feet compared to hectares or something like that. You want to get your pricing and your regions right.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything John just said. I have to apologize to our next guest because I have an intro for you, but it is on my other computer at home and not here. I thought I had transferred it. I did not. So welcome to the show, Jessica Charman.
I guess that means I have to come back.
Yes,
since you haven't
it does.
got my intro today.
It does. If you can't tell, we are on the road. We're still in Nashville, about to get out of here after the show. The Open Cup has been a wild ride for everybody. It looked like it might have been a wild ride for Charlotte yesterday when Richmond pulled it back to 1-1. I saw that score update, and then things got crazy in our match, and I didn't get back to see what was going on. By the time I do, it's 5-1, and I'm like, what in the blue hell just happened?
Yeah, it was a nuts match, and all credit to Richmond for their first half performance, for the response to going, a goal down, getting back an equalizer. But at the end of the day, there is a gap between MLS and USL sides at times in terms of fitness, in terms of just the quality that you're able to bring off the bench and those kind of things. And hard work, grit, and organization can only get you so far. And once Richmond had that second goal from us go in so quick after they got the equalizer, I think that sort of just took the wind out their sails a little bit, because they were so encouraged for 25, 30 seconds. And then all of a sudden we score the response immediately afterwards, and it takes away that momentum that you've built up. But first 45 minutes, very organized from them. And anyone that didn't watch the match wouldn't know that Charlotte FC could have very easily been behind. George Marks, our rookie goalkeeper out of Clemson, made two really, really good shot stops that if Richmond had scored, I truly believe an upset could have been on the cards, because we were playing at home, because we were playing against a side that has some very tenacious fans, to be polite, and it could have become a very nasty environment for Charlotte FC to play. And as a new side, you know how it can be. If you start to be losing away from home against a very tenacious fan base, as we said politely, it can be very difficult to get back into the match. So George Marks, for me, made a huge impact, and he's got big boots to fill, obviously, with the way Christian Kalina has been playing in MLS. And we know how important goalkeepers are based on the Atlanta United situation right now as well.
When it comes to Open Cup in general, Jess, what has been the response by the Charlotte fan base? Because, you're in this new thing called MLS, and then all of a sudden you have something else that you can, pay attention to at the same time. Has there been the same kind of energy transfer over with Charlotte's engagement, or is it more questions and inquisitiveness about what's going on with Open Cup leading into the competition?
Other than the current draw and being placed in the Northeast, which I know you guys got into a little earlier before I came on.
Either you or Louisville, yeah.
Brought to you by Rand McNally, yes.
Look, I can't speak. My geography is pretty shocking of the United States. I'm learning more about it with this job than I ever learned in college. But everyone has embraced it and are excited about having midweek matches, about not having to wait a full week between games. And a lot of that excitement, thankfully, has come from Miguel Angel Ramirez taking it very seriously. He's very vocal about the fact he wants more competitions. He actually doesn't think it's fair that we only have 2 competitions in America. He wants more opportunities to play. He doesn't like the quick turnaround. He'd rather it was spread out a bit more. But when you take it seriously, when you play with respect, look, we played a weaker starting lineup in terms of it wasn't your MLS side, but you still showed the respect for Richmond by having plenty of starters on the bench, by bringing them onto the action. You didn't disrespect the opposition. Against Greenville, when we went to extra time, we had to bring all of our big guns, so to say, off of the bench. And because you have a manager that's respecting the tournament, not writing it off like DC United did, the fan base are going to embrace it as much. And of course, look, MLS has been a rocky road for us so far. We've done very well at home. We've struggled away. It's a nice respite. And who doesn't love winning matches and getting to face oppositions, you know?
Yeah, it can be a big confidence builder. It can be a big momentum builder. And it's a valuable tournament. I'm glad you mentioned the DC thing. And we talked about it yesterday with the quotes that came out of Chad Ashton. And every team's in a different situation. And this is a worldwide thing, and you get into cups. There's certain years you can't go for it as much as you would like. You know, teams who made a run in CONCACAF, I get it. You got 8 more games, 10 more games under your belt, on your legs. You might have to rotate like Seattle did and risk getting knocked out, like what happened to Seattle. But there are teams that are not huge MLS Cup contenders who can win 5 games and win the Open Cup. And I'm always shocked when those teams opt not to go for it. I get
Definitely.
it if you're a Cup contender. I get it if you're a Champions League team. But if you're a DC, if you're a Charlotte, if you're, Nashville went for it last night. Atlanta went for it with their lineups. But if you're that mid-tier team, I think Cincinnati went for it pretty strong. Go for it. Go for it, because the Cup might be your best route to a trophy in a season.
Exactly. And in a starting season like for Charlotte FC, to make a deep cup run, what a way to, capture more fans' hearts, to show them that you're a competitive side in other ways. And like we know with club soccer, it can go your way. You've only got 90 minutes, if you get to extra time, a little bit longer, but it's a short time to put your eggs in one basket during that competition. And why I loved it last night is we got to boost players' confidence, like you say, Jason, the likes of Mackenzie Gaines, who we've seen flashes of brilliance from in MLS, but he hasn't been able to find the back of the net. He's had some really rough, finishing opportunities. For him to find the back of the net twice, now he can bring that confidence into finishing into MLS. We've got players like Jordi Reyna, who has been hit or miss for us, had a very decent match last night. He now is able to take that motion in. On the flip side, you have players that maybe didn't perform as well, given their chance to shine. Look, we know I love Titi Ortiz. He has some moments of magic, but just doesn't quite give it enough at the moment. He's now sort of lost his favor with Miguel Angel Ramirez. So it's a really good opportunity as well from a flip side to see things tactically, because we talk very often about, you can work hard in practice, you can do that, but you can never recreate a real competitive match environment. Even in practice, when you play 11v11, it's never going to be the same as playing against an opposition. So those minutes are also very vital to have in a match.
Grade scale from A to F. If you were to give a report card for what you've seen so far this season to date for Charlotte FC, what would your grade be?
I'll give him a B. In terms of where I thought it was going to be, it's an A star compared to where I felt we were going to be after watching us in Charleston. And that's not said disrespectfully to the players we had, but in Charleston, I was extremely worried about how I was going to commentate and try and keep a smile on my face. They proved us wrong in all manners of ways. Again, how Ramirez has done brilliantly. The pieces we've added. I'm very excited about Andre Shinyashiki. I'm very excited to get Kerwin Vargas in once he gets sorted in Colombia, because we know Colombian players that make their way via Portugal can be extremely, extremely talented. And having heard the quotes from him as well about how he had, Division 1 Portuguese teams asking him to come sign for them, but he went with MLS. It's very exciting. And also, again, really the adjustments we've made. We got to see a 4-3-3 on Saturday. Loved the difference that added in terms of getting bodies forward. The 4-4-2 with the diamond in the middle served its purpose, picked up some points, but definitely wasn't what Miguel wanted. And I'll give us a B, because we're still got a lot of a way to go. We need to have slightly better game management on the road. We need to cut out the errors that we're conceding. When I look at the goals we've conceded, so many of them are preventable. I'm sure you saw the Orlando corner goal. that had me pulling my hair out. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it at this level, but that's organizational things that can be ironed out. And I've talked a lot about how the individual errors and the lack of organization are frustrating goals to concede, but they're preventable. We're able to adjust to them. It's a learning curve rather than an intrinsic issue with the quality of our players on the pitch. So once we find those lines out, I think we're going to be okay this season. And I think more people are putting respect on this side, particularly at home, where Bank of America Stadium has become a very difficult place to come and play Charlotte FC.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me. That's a takeaway of Charlotte this season is that home form and that home quality, and it is a bit of a fortress. It's impressive. The next step is that performance to take that on the road and be able to maybe grind a little bit and get some ugly points from time to time. The 4-3-3 is probably going to be the way to go. I think, and we've talked about it, Miguel Angel Ramirez, that's where he's most comfortable. It's what he wants to do. It's probably where he has the greatest base of knowledge in coaching a team to play that way. Didn't have the pieces to do it. And if there's anything that is the most impressive about Charlotte this year, to me, it's that he was able to hold serve and honestly do more than just hold things. He was able to get something out of the portion of the season where he didn't have everything he needed to play his soccer. And that's not easy to do.
I also think he's able to get the best out of players that maybe we didn't think were going to have such an impact on MLS. Look, Christian Fuchs has done a real job. And sometimes he lacks an engine, but he is a player that I wasn't sure was going to contribute as much. And now he's very difficult to get off the pitch. A player like Brian Bronico, did we expect him to have such a role? Probably not, but he's been magnificent. One of the best players, Ben Bender, a rookie. Yeah. And what I love about these players that I'm mentioning is you can't get more opposite ends of the spectrum than Christian Fuchs and Ben Bender in terms of experience, in terms of the level. But Miguel Angel Ramirez is able to relate to all of them on a personal level. And Jason, I always take it back to when I first got this gig and we were texting, you're like, you're going to love this manager. And it's incredible. And Charlotte FC need to hold on to him. I see a little bit of, when Tata Martino was at Atlanta United, how we were worried, how long would we hold on to him for? Because he was such a well sought after manager at the time. And, Charlotte FC should be trying to protect Miguel Angel Ramirez at all costs, because he is the difference maker with turning a squad that is a C+, B- squad into that B+, A- squad with the organization and the motivation and the confidence he allows the players to play with.
When it comes to, individuals like a Miguel Angel Ramirez and the players that are a part of this roster, and how fans can gravitate toward and embrace folks early on in a process, who are the fans gravitating toward early on? Who are the fan favorites that you're getting to see everybody throwing their collective weight behind, and perhaps even elevating those players' games that much more so far?
Well, first you got to say Christian Kalina, the goalkeeper, and it's actually very rare, at least in my way growing up, that the goalkeeper becomes such a hero. But with the saves he's made have been incredible, but mostly it's his personality. I say time and time again in the broadcast, he is still out there while Willie P and I are doing the post-match show, signing autographs, taking pictures on social media. He's retweeting everything. He's having discussions with fans, making sure they get gloves and all these kind of things. And Charlotte FC's done that really well in general. Miguel does it too. And I think the players feel like that's a very important part of their responsibility, connecting with the fan base. And I really hope that can continue, because that's what's driving people coming in week after week to the Bank of America Stadium, because they feel important. They're made to feel appreciated. The social media team does a fantastic job as well. Something I'm very proud about with the club, and I try and do it just as much, is the connectivity with the fans, making people feel included. And yeah, Christian Kalina's been a really special inclusion. Christian Fuchs is a professional. He knows how important that side of the match is. Ben Bender doesn't have social media, but fans are loving him because it's that rookie story as well. And, it's just been a real beautiful thing to watch that connection between the fans and the players And again, you have to single out Miguel because he doesn't seem to be the sort of manager that's like, hey, you need to be back in the dressing room with 10 minutes to go. Otherwise, we need to get this team talk. I like the fact that he realizes that the things I have to say can be said later on after I've even had time to process them. You go connect with the fans. You go, they do this really cool thing where they get in a line and they run up to the supporter section and they just, show how much that section of the fan base has done for them. It's just a really cool thing to be a part of. And my only hope, because I know with inaugural sides, a lot of times they focus on these things, is that Charlotte realizes that this needs to become part of their culture for seasons and seasons to come, not just because it's our first time in MLS.
Yeah, speaking of that, so you look at the table right now in the East, and it's 9 points separating top to bottom. It's incredibly tight. Charlotte is 1 point out of the playoff spot. I didn't expect that at this stage. I thought they would get better later and be a difficult team in the second half. They've been a difficult team in the first. Do you think this is a team that can get into the playoffs?
I think if we can improve on the road, yes. But if the road continues the way it's been, it will be very difficult because, yes, you can win 80, 90% of your home matches. But if you're losing every game on the road, it's affecting your goal difference. It's affecting your morale, all of those kind of things. The most important aim that Miguel said he wanted was us to be competitive in every match. And we've hit that goal so far. But now it's about, like you say, grinding out those results on the road, being a little bit ugly if you have to be to pick up those points. But we're well in contention. And it's funny you say, Jason, I felt the same. I kept saying at the start of the season, we have to be patient. We're a new side. It will come. When I was saying it will come, in my head, I was thinking it will come in late summer, June, July.
That's what I was thinking.
It came very early. And look, we've got to be realistic. We've got to keep playing the way we play. But they've been very vocal as well that the transfer window, when it reopens in the summer, is something we want to add. We want to continue to be competitive. That will be helpful as well, any adjustments we make. But so far, the signings that we've made late on, Josviak from Derby has shown moments of magic. He's not 90 fit yet. We need to bring him into the mix. We've mentioned Shiniashiki, who I loved seeing him play in Colorado, and now to have him playing for us is brilliant. And so I think those players will make a difference to our attacking presence. We've got a great goalkeeper defensively, which you need. But if you can't pick up more than 1 point in, 6-7 road games like we've had, you're not going to make playoffs. So that's the area of our game that needs to improve.
Here's some interesting things with MLS in 2022. Pedro Rondon, USA Super Soccer on Twitter. It's a great follow. He does a lot of historical stuff as well out of Brazil, but covering soccer in the U.S. 377 goals so far this season, averaging 2.67 per game. That's a good bit down from where MLS usually is. It's usually over 3 goals a game. Defenses are getting better. Here's the thing about where Charlotte is, and Atlanta's got 1 win on the road, 2 more points on the road than Charlotte. Home team wins 52% of the time. Away team wins 24% of the time. The other 24% are draws. It's tough in this league to go get points on the road. But when you look at who the best teams are in the league, and Cincinnati is maybe the anomaly here in the East, that they've been able to go on the road and find 3 wins. But it's Red Bulls undefeated on the road. It's Philly, 2 wins, 2 draws on the road, only 1 loss. Orlando's been better on the road at home, which doesn't make any sense. Montreal 2-2-2. That's good road form. It's like, oh, that's average. No, that's good on the road. It's Charlotte at the bottom. It's New England at the bottom, which is a surprise. That's who Atlanta's going to see this weekend. It's New York City, but they've only played 3 times on the road with games getting rescheduled due to CONCACAF. If you can go steal points on the road, you can make a run to the playoffs in this league. And that is the missing element for Charlotte right now.
And why, Jason, do you think being on the road is so hard in MLS? Everyone always talks about MLS. Is it to do with time zones? Is it to do with the length of travel? Is it that much harder than, we in England are frustrated when we have a 4-hour road trip? We think that's super far, and that's not even Atlanta to Charlotte. So do you think that makes a difference to the players' mindsets?
Mindset, physical readiness as well. I mean, just you're going on the road, Montreal, for example, you're going on the road, you're flying from Atlanta to Montreal, afternoon, day before the match. It's a 2.5 hour flight. It has an effect on your body. Then you're just playing in, you don't have the time zone change there, but you do have that sometimes. I think the further you go in terms of time zone changes, that affects it. You do get climate, like dramatic changes.
Look at Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you get altitude in Colorado, but you also get like the dry air there. You go to Miami, you get the humidity. You go to Houston, you get the humidity. It's a box of toys everywhere you go. Like, it's going to be something different. You go to Yankee Stadium and you're playing in a baseball stadium. Like
you've got no width,
baseball stadium,
no width there.
Yeah, it's so difficult to deal with, and the numbers have historically backed it up. I mean, we've had Greg Garza on the show this season, and Greg always talks about it from his experiences playing, in Europe as a youth, playing in Brazil, playing in Mexico. It's like, yeah, going on the road in MLS is the toughest of anywhere he's been.
Yeah, and I think that's why we talk about that's where we can turn our season. I mean, if we can continue even on the form we've got, everyone will write this down as a successful first season for Charlotte
100%.
FC. They've proved a lot of people that they can do better, but when you're doing as well as you are at home, you would be fools not to think if we can turn this around, away from home, and if we can make a playoff run in our first season, that will be really incredible. But the most important thing is to grind out those results. And as I say, game management, I look back to Atlanta United away every time I talk about game management, and love the confidence to try and grow and, steal 3 points. But if we'd have picked up that point, we maybe were in for a different run of away games, because it would have been less of a monkey on your shoulder for longer if you'd have picked up that road point earlier on in your season.
Yeah, it tightens up too. And that's something that I think Atlanta and Charlotte do have in common this year, that you're imposing a play style. Gonzalo was here at the end of last season, but with this group and now with all the injuries, it's almost like you're reimposing a play style. Miguel Angel Ramirez is starting that from scratch. So early on, you go on the road, you don't want it to be different. You want to get that 90 minutes playing the way you want to play and learning how hard it can be. But you get into July, August, September, and it's, that 4-4-2 diamond that you don't love and doesn't allow you to do quite as much. It might be the way to play this game on the road, and we might have to be a little ugly and get something out of it. But you've built up the confidence in the way that you play to do that. Sometimes you have to go for it more early to build up that confidence to handle it later, when it counts the same in the table, but we know it just means a little bit more as you get later in the season.
And what they've adjusted, which I've liked, is they've added the direct ball into their repertoire a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's not always playing horizontally constantly out the back. They've added a big switch. They've added a direct ball, and that's something you have to do at times. You've got to be ugly. You've got to allow your defense a time to step up, relieve that pressure. So that's going to be another addition to the skill set. Look, I just wish there was another Atlanta United Charlotte match. And
I do too.
The one thing that's given me hope about the fact you didn't qualify is we wouldn't have even had a chance of drawing each other in Open Cup anyway.
No, because Atlanta wouldn't have got bumped elsewhere. It was either you or Louisville who was going up into the Northeast. So, no, wouldn't have happened. Maybe in the playoffs. Hey,
there you go.
Maybe.
God, that'll be.
I know.
That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate tiebreaker, though. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fun to watch two managers in Pineda and Ramirez who have ideas about what they want to do, communicate them clearly, and are really striving to be ambitious with the way they want to play it, and watching it all come together. It's got to be fun for you to see that firsthand.
Oh, it is. And the respect that MLS is gaining, again, it's an amazing thing. And Miguel is an exciting addition to MLS. He's a controversial figure at times. He's not afraid to speak his mind, but that's the kind of guy I want, because we can relate a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. I'll have an intro for you next time, I promise, when I'm back in my normal studio. I apologize this morning, but thanks for taking some time for us.
Anytime, guys. Take care. See you soon.
Good, Jess.
See you soon. Jessica Charman, make sure you're following her. Jess Talks Footy to keep up with everything going on up I-85 way in Charlotte. It is a very interesting story, and they've done a lot better than I expected. I thought it'd take longer for them to figure it out, but it's a credit to their manager, Miguel Angel Ramirez. They move on in the Open Cup. We will commiserate with Niko Moreno here in just a bit. The Seattle Sounders do not move on, but I'm sure looking at the CONCACAF Champions League trophy will be enough for them to feel pretty good about themselves. So now it's back to league play for Seattle, and they've got work to do in the table. The West is not quite as tight as the East. There's more hurdles to jump over, but the quality of the Sounders should allow them to do so, although they have a big injury absence now, and I think they're starting to come to grips with it more with Joao Paulo out. So Niko will be joining us here in just a couple of minutes. You grab a couple off the Twitch pitch real quick.
Yeah. Michael Head, it's a logistics question, and we could probably lean into it a little more tomorrow. But first thoughts, he was wondering what time the team arrived back in Marietta this morning. Obviously early. He was thinking 4 o'clock or so. Michael's obviously concerned about the effects of 120 minutes heat and travel on the match on the weekend.
It'll be an effect. No matter how they were getting back to Marietta, it'll be an effect. Mike talked about it last night on Twitter. When you're dealing with Open Cup, it's not the same as a league game, which right now the league games are still under the everything being chartered by the league setup. Open Cup is not. Flying domestically, going through all of the airport security, TSA, going from Marietta to Hartsfield, then flying, then getting to Nashville, then getting through everything, all the equipment, all that stuff. It's not much longer to drive it. It's honestly more comfortable at that point to just go ahead and drive it because they would have had to stay and then fly back today. I don't know what the flight schedules are.
Pretty consistent over my head right now.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't have helped them anyway to do that. They got back home last night late. They're sleeping in today. I'm sure that anybody who has injury recovery or anything like that, guys who didn't play, probably going to go put in a session today at the training ground. Guys who played anything close to 60-plus minutes probably are not. And you're back at it tomorrow. So today is just a total recovery day, and probably guys who need a little bit of work will get it. It's just the 120 minutes. No matter how you travel back, the 120 minutes in the heat is going to take something out of you. And I think Gonzalo was asked about that last night. There's no way he's going to be able to answer that last night. But you look at somebody like Alex DeJohn, who hadn't played 120 in a long time, played 90 in preseason once, and that was the last time he had played 90 with this group. So he's going to be feeling the effects of it. What does he have in the tank for the weekend? Ronald Hernandez played 120. Who played 120 last night?
I'm digging that up real quick.
Yeah, you had a couple of guys who had to play 120. Amar Sadich might get the start because he came on late. You're going to be looking at guys who didn't make the trip, who you might have to force into availability here. You're going to be wondering about Caleb Wiley on the left side now with Gutman's injury, because I'm not expecting him for the weekend just because I'm a little gun shy when it comes to injuries. So are you looking at Wiley? Are you looking at Mikey Ambrose, who's been with the twos? DeJohn went 120. Alan Franco went 120. That's your two center backs. Campbell played more than you planned on.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can give you 90 on the weekend.
Ronald Hernandez gave you 120.
Ronald gave you 120, and Araujo gave you 120. He did look fresh at the end, but Araujo's a maniac, so he might have been on pure adrenaline at that point. Maniac in the best of ways.
Yes.
Brooks Lennon came on in the 58th for Gutman, so he played a lot. Sadich played the least. Campbell and Heinemann came on 68th, 69th minute. Campbell definitely went past where they were comfortable, so his availability for Sunday is not going to be full. I can't imagine Heinemann's would.
Yeah. Dwyer
came on late. Cisneros went 81.
Hosetsu went north of 100.
Yeah. Hosetsu's going to be a little tough. Cisneros should be okay.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough. It's honestly going to be a lot of on Friday. How are you feeling? They're going to be looking at sports science. What's the workload? Where are we with this group? Who do we have that could be available. And that's the flip side is, okay, we just went through all the center backs and all of them are question marks for the weekend. All right, does Santi Sosa play as a center back? Because he has to. Does Noah Cobb play? Do you bring him up and play him? Because you might have to. Like, that's the reality of this. I would expect Sejdic gets the start in the midfield. Yeah. Tyler Wolff is another one I could absolutely see getting a start and playing in the midfield. Mikey Ambrose, I think, will be in the team. I think Jackson Conway potentially could be in the team. You might have to do something a little different against New England just purely based on availability. So it's a next man up scenario, and it is what it is right now.
And Michael Bucklew said the team doesn't now have the depth to make runs in both Open Cup and MLS. Kind of a blessing in disguise. He did love the fight in the guys last night.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, you never want to go out, and you definitely don't want to go out after putting 120 minutes into it. You even more so don't want to go out after having a 2-goal lead. But yeah, not having another game on top of it, you don't hate that, because you get an opportunity to rest and recover a little bit, and this team needs it. You don't get long, though, because, again, you're back at it on Sunday against a team in New England who was able to get through this round, who was able to handle things. Wasn't completely easy for them. I think that was 1-1, at least at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Cincinnati?
Yes, it was.
And then New England busted it open as it went. They've got a lot of work to do in the table. That could be a momentum builder for them at the wrong time for Atlanta United, but got to play the games in front of you. I just have no idea, as we sit right now after 120 last night, I have no idea what the lineup looks like on Sunday. And I'm sure, at this point, the coaching staff is just, honestly, I hope they just get away for the day. You're not going to figure it out today. You're not going to know anymore today. Man, those guys probably need a break as much as anybody. I hope they can get it and recharge, come in on Friday, come up with the game plan, talk through it, work through it, do a lot of video work, light work on Saturday to get ready for this. And you're back at it. Try to come up with the plan that can get you something out of Sunday at home as the New England Revolution come to town. Not coming to town yet, but hopefully when the Seattle Sounders come to town, we will get Niko Moreno coming to Atlanta. We're going to make this happen at some point. We're going to crowdfund it or something. We're going to get Niko to the A, but Niko is ready to join us right about now. So, Niko, we had suffering in the Open Cup last night in Nashville. You guys had suffering last night in the Open Cup at Starfire. I got back to the hotel figuring all the games were done last night, and oh boy, it went 11 rounds in the shootout. Chaos for the Sounders, but they're out of the Open Cup as well.
Yes, how are you guys? Long night, obviously. Got the coffee ready. It was a different one at Starfire yesterday. It always is. It never disappoints, to my standards. Anytime that I go to Starfire, you could always expect something to go wrong. You could always expect something to be exciting. And you could always expect extra time. And when Seattle was down 2-0, I'm looking around the press box, talking to a couple of new members of the media, and as well as others that have been there for quite a while. And I'm saying, look, this is going to go to overtime. Stop planning this to be 90 minutes. Nobody's going to go home here on time, expect it. Sure enough, that's how it played out. Obviously, Brian Smetzer went with the heavily rotated team, perhaps a lot more than I believed he would. I thought that there was going to be a couple of pieces there like Rusnak and Christian Roldan, some of your younger, players that can potentially help you get over that hump, because the Seattle Sounders have not done well in this tournament as of late. Portland took him out at Cheney Stadium. Then before that, Sacramento Republic. They just have not been able to really be as successful as they have been in the past. With that said, I did ask Brian Smetzer about maybe leaving some of those options off just because the question has to be asked. He was not happy about it. He gave me a bit of a strong response that, that's the wrong narrative. And I get it. I mean, this team that he put out went with San Jose all 12 rounds, like you guys said. The PK shootout went to the goalkeepers, and that's where it ends. Cleveland does the heavy shot, doesn't quite place it, and then the San Jose keeper ends up putting his away, and there goes that. But the components were there. The team had chances, opportunities, had a really tough first half. Started to kind of find their game late in the second, and that momentum carried over to the extra time. Unfortunately for Seattle, they just couldn't put it away. There were quite a few chances, but it didn't go their way. So now they're eliminated, and they can focus on MLS and getting out of the basement from the Western Conference.
How, I guess this is a conditioning question more than anything else. Coming out of CONCACAF Champions League, where were things going into last night? Had they fully shaken off CCL and all of the celebrations and getting back into regular routine? Where were they coming into last night, even with a heavily rotated side, as a group, do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that in terms of, conditioning, sports science, there's still a little bit of rehab to be done, or a little bit of regenerating and making sure that some of your big DPs that perhaps have had issues with injuries do get minutes managed and all of that. But in terms of mentality and where this team needs to be, I think they're over that moment, that brilliant win and that high. After Dallas, that was the game that you kind of got saying, hey, you know what, that was your entry back into MLS regular play. Leaving things behind is understandable that, perhaps you dropped that game at Dallas against a very good Dallas team. But I think mentally they've reset it. They're ready to go. You had a lot of the starters at Starfire yesterday watching the game, supporting some of those young guys. And I think it was just about Brian wanting to see some of these younger players, and I thought a lot of them did well. Dylan Tevis played well. Leo Chu, 120 minutes. I thought it was the best game I've seen him play with the Seattle Sounders. Danny Leyva, I thought, played well. So all of these players that you want to see get minutes, you want to see get rhythm, they got that. But in a mental aspect, I think they're over that, and they're ready to go to work. They're ready to focus on MLS play and trying to get a playoff spot.
I think it's hard to quantify, and it's something that can't be overlooked. We know the physical load of just playing the minutes that Seattle's played in CONCACAF. They've played more minutes than anybody in MLS. It's going to have a toll on MLS. You got to manage it. But there's also the just mental toll of it, because the Sounders put so much into winning that, as they should. They, the mental stress of that is a fatiguing effect on the body as well. And you have to recharge. I think the Open Cup, I didn't expect a lot of starters here. I get you. I thought maybe they would have been available on the bench just in case, break glass in case of emergency. But you almost had to just give this up a little bit. If the kids win for you and you keep going, okay, cool, you might be in a better position next round. But the guys needed a full week at least to recover from the stress of doing what they did in CONCACAF. And we'll see on the weekend if they're back to full strength mentally and physically. It might be even longer they need.
You're spot on, Jason. That's exactly it. And for one is that you want to, hey, let's have the young guys get out here, play, give our guys that moment to just kind of rest and really get ready for what's coming up against Minnesota, a good team that you want to beat at home, get some momentum. But I also believe what Brian told me, as angry as he was about the question. He's this is the team that I believe could win.
Yeah.
And you had some experienced players there with Jimmy and Freddie, who ends up getting a score, and Will Bruin, and you do have some guys that are going to maybe guide this younger players into a good game. But if you don't win it, hey, guess what? You got some minutes to a lot of players that needed it. You put out a competitive team that gave San Jose everything they had, a San Jose team that brought in Ibobusi, Calvo, Lopez, Espinosa. I mean, they brought them on. At the end of this game, they had a lot of their starting rotation, and still this team took him to the limit. They were able to be right there with a chance to win it, as they did in Dallas. In Dallas, I thought they played well for 55 to 60 minutes against a very good Dallas team at Dallas. So it all goes back to knowing your squad, believing in your players, and playing the youth, man. Play the youth. That's all right. You just won the biggest title that you ever win. And I get that fans might be upset at the fact that maybe more starting players were not at there, but come on, man. You just won a huge trophy. You have 4 of these at home, by the way, but I get it. You want to win it all. That's the aspect. And in no way would I say that Brian Smetzer put out a team that he was just going to, whatever, they're not going to win it. No, he 100%. Believed this team was going to get out there and win, and the tactics were there, the opportunities was there. But yeah, it's just like you said, Jason, you need that rotation. You need that time to just let those guys settle in and get ready for what's coming up.
Look, it's a credit to managers like Schmetzer who believe this much in the work that they're doing, the staff is doing, preparing these players. And I think you saw it from guys like Jackson Reagan. Looks like he had a great night. And to have 120 minutes in a knockout game for a kid who is still pushing his way into this team, that's going to benefit you down the road. I'm sure he had the belief in that they could win this. And I think he 100% is being factual in saying that he thought this team could get the win. That's the kind of manager you need in these competitions. And it's hard, because I think we look at it from the outside and we're not seeing the day in training. We're not seeing, Rusnak and Ladero and these guys walking in just drained because of what they've been through with all the pressure of CONCACAF. That doesn't just flip a switch and they're back fine and they can play in this and then play again in the league on the weekend and then be great. Like, you have to take all these things into account, put the best team you can on the field on that night and give them every chance to get the result. And the Sounders were right there against a mostly first choice San Jose team.
Yeah, they were good, man. And, a guy like Jimmy Medranda needed a night like last night. He's been struggling to get out on the field. He had a really, really bad running against Inter Miami. Last night, man, he needed those minutes. He had a good game, had a beautiful banger, from 40 yards probably, from a free kick. He needed those moments. So all of that just builds into Brian Smetzer understanding his group, putting a competitive team out there, and using the full depth of his roster. So, I give him a lot of props. I think that's why he's who he is, and that's why this team responds the way they do. And I don't think by any means of my imagination that this is going to hinder this team in a momentum type of thing. This is a separate competition. You know what you were about, and I believe that it'll be the opposite. I think they're going to bounce back against Minnesota, big game, and they're going to really put it out to work. So nothing got lost yesterday. The team played well. It was fun to see the fans back at Starfire. It's such a different complex. The atmosphere was there. I mean, it was rainy. It was late on a Wednesday, and the fans were still out there moving the flags, trying to pressure San Jose out of the penalty kick. So, yeah, it was good to see.
My next question, Niko, comes from the idea of absence and presence and filling a void. And the guy that I'm talking about, obviously, João Paulo. Going forward in the season in MLS, with João Paulo's absence being as prolific as it is, who do you think, not necessarily on the field, but, you can address that too, because we know that, Brian Schmetzer has the solution in place. But emotionally and from a leadership perspective there toward the back, who do you think the individual or individuals are that can fill that void with João Paulo not being a part of the process in a starting 11?
I think it's Christian and Rusnak. I mean, those are the two guys that you immediately think of. Rusnak, because he's going to be playing next to whoever Brian decides to kind of bring on, whether it's Obed or Leba or Josh. But I think Rusnak coming out of that back line, that first line of midfielders, that holding midfield is going to be a key component, because you knew what João Paulo did for you coming out of the back in the build-up game, in the build-out game, switching point of attack, all of those things that you saw from João Paulo in distribution, Rusnak can do, and he's been done that. So from a tactical aspect, that's going to be the guy. I think that as a leader, he's done that well. When João Paulo came off in that big final against Pumas, I really thought that, he felt that responsibility towards him, and he showed it in his play. So there is a certain aspect of being a leader by example, and that is something that he can do. And in terms of just a vocal leader and someone who is always running around the field and making sure that guys are accountable and just being a spark plug for the midfield in general, I think it's going to be Christian Roldan. He is that guy that is going to give you that physicality that João Paulo gave you. He's going to give you that loud voice component. He's going to be chirping at the referees. He's going to be making sure that if there's a hard foul, he's the first one giving you that face-to-face the way JP did. So I think it's going to be really a team effort between those two players to bring and fill those voids that João Paulo leaves, because he was a key component.
So you had a chance to see Dallas on the weekend. They're a team that when I look at the Western Conference and you start to see some categories emerge a little bit, I had high hopes for Dallas. They're further along than I thought. They look like a team that could win the West to me. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think we saw it on paper. I think that Niko's done a fantastic job at just molding these players. I think that Ariola, as long as he's hot, man, he gives this team a certain edge, right? Because he's a little bit sporadic, and he could be, a guy that could be on and off sometimes. But when he's on, man, this team really goes the extra mile. I like what I'm seeing out of Velasco, not just the talent, but being able to get with the programming, get with the strategy, and being a connector. There's a lot of things about this team that just work. Jesus Ferreira being able to just fill that spot of a goal scorer. And there's also the ability for this team to be a goal scorer by committee. So because there are so many attacking pieces in this team, there's so much youth, they have a very deep roster. You got Hara coming in from the bench. I mean, there's a lot of talent in this squad. O'Brien is still in there. He's not even that guy anymore, but when he comes in, he can be a little bit of a spark plug, and he can take advantage of tired legs coming in, or he could come in first and then you bring other players. I mean, there's a lot of options for this Dallas team. They have everything to be a contender for the Cup this year.
Yeah, I could see them winning the West. The only team in the West that has more points than Dallas in the last 5 games is Austin, who had the loss to the LA Galaxy on the weekend. Where do you rate the Galaxy this season? Because they expect to win everything. That's the mentality for the LA Galaxy. It always has been. They expect to be the best. They haven't been for a while. Are they there again, or do they still need something?
No. I told you that I am not buying that stock yet. I still see a very a good team, but that lacks depth. Still, I think that they depend on a lot of players for them to come out in this one. I thought Austin played a very good game, and they just weren't able to really put it away. And They just didn't have a good night. But overall, I thought that they had their chances. They had possession. I thought they were aggressive. They just weren't able to really put it away. But in terms of LA, I just don't see this team being a group that can handle tough times, adversity, and every MLS team that you've seen win a cup has had those moments throughout a point of the season, or an injury, or a lack of momentum. And I just don't see this team having those qualities. Are they talented? Sure. But I still don't see the Chicharito Hernandez from, last year, where he was just taking the league by storm early in the season, and he was, there ready to be the golden boot of the team. I still feel like that holding midfield is very fragile at times. Defensively, I think that they're a little bit reactive, and they do a lot of ball watching in general. Yes, you have a fantastic manager, and I know that Vanny's going to make a lot of adjustments, but I do feel like there's more talented needed in this team. I'm still not sold on Acosta being the guy that's going to give this team the edge. I believe that there's still a need for a better creative midfielder to really amplify your game. So there's just too many missing components for me to put him in that contender category. They've benefited out of having a real good structure and a Vanny that can pull certain players and put them in positions to win games. But I think when this tournament really gets tough, I don't know if they have enough to really stay up there.
So let me ask you this last one from me in this section, because you said something that sticks with me when I look at the teams in the West about winning tough games, winning difficult games, having to fight, having that grit. That's been a question that people have had about LAFC during their great run. I still have it. I have it about Austin. They've still got to show that they can win those games on a bad night. Dallas, I don't 100% know about the grit yet, but I feel pretty good about it. The teams in the West, the two that I feel are that team that can win ugly, that can win the tough game where they don't have it on the night, they're outplayed, but they can pick up those points, and especially late in the year. I think the two, one Seattle, because they've shown it. The other's Nashville.
Yep.
They're so different than the rest of the West, in my opinion. Seattle and Nashville are the most similar in having that mental strength to be able to handle those moments.
I totally agree, man. And it all goes back to a great job by Gary Smith and the foundation that he set as soon as he came into this league, and a rosters that's built to last, and having that safety net in that back line where that you're never out of a game because your team is not going to give out a whole bunch of scores. They really have a funneling system in that midfield that nobody gets through easy. It's always going to funnel in, is always going to be compact and hard to get through. They have a quality creator like Mukhtar that when he's on, woo, baby, he gives them that edge, right? Because that they got the defense, that they got the grit, but that power, that extra comes from Mukhtar. So it's definitely a team that, I agree with you, can last games, can can hold on to tough times. They can make it difficult for absolutely any team in the league, and that's winning components right there.
When you look at the West, and I know that we've talked about it, and so you're not sold on a couple of teams, or you're not sold on Galaxy. Is there anybody right now outside of Seattle that has their nose pressed up against the glass, and they've got this look, and they're looking in the Caniceria, sitting there looking at the big choice, transactions that they want to make? Is there anybody outside looking in that you're sitting there going, okay, outside of Seattle, that you think can get into the playoff discussion that isn't currently there now?
That's a good question. Usually I would say Portland, but I really like Colorado. Colorado is a team that I believe has a good systematic soccer. I believe that they have a lot of talented players. They've shown it at moments, even in losses. They have shown you what they can do. I think that Colorado has a little bit of that identity that we talk about in their ability to kind of hold on to certain games. Once again, I think Portland is always in the discussion, but because of what Colorado has been able to show in the last season and some of those players that I think are having really good seasons, I think I'd go with Colorado.
Yeah, I got to see Jossie's artist and see if he can be the other side. Colorado is a very different team in the West for me because they are more solid. They don't have the spectacular as much. Rubio at times has given you that, but not consistently enough. They don't have a Mukhtar. They don't have a Rusnak and a Ladero who can take things over from time to time. Can Zardes be that one who, when they need some offense, can he give them that? I need to see that first on the Rapids. In the East has a different feel. Like the East has gritty teams, a lot of them. Philadelphia and the Red Bulls at the top of the table right now. You want grit, it's those two. Montreal is the one that isn't getting talked about enough. I think the two teams that are the most disrespected in the league this year are Montreal and Dallas. They don't get the respect they deserve, and they're two of the best.
Hey, you better get out there and put some respect on their name because that is a good team, man. That is a squad that can get out there and put you on your back heels, and they are strong in the midfield, and they have speed, and they have MVP candidate, right? In Mahagovic. So, man, this team can really do it all. I was a bit surprised on how they dominated Orlando. I mean, look, Orlando's a quality squad.
It could have been worse.
And they worked them. They worked them. So yeah, no, I agree. I think you gotta really look at the fact that this team is third in the standings, and they were focused at one point in CCL. And we were talking about them having issues rotating players and exhaustion and all these things. And the fact that they're at this moment and they're able to hold on to those difficult times when you're trying to figure out your roster and your rotation, and they're still high in MLS standings, man, that's a tough team. And I think Torres is a player that once he becomes consistent, they are going to have a squad down there. So, I mean, up there. Definitely a team that I think is a contender in the East. And they can be a surprise team. They can take over. Yeah. I mean, they really can. From a tactical standpoint, from a greedy point, from a talented level, they have just about everything. And you know what I like? That they also have a good balance of experienced players in MLS with international experience, as well as some younger players. They are going to be a tough team to beat in the East. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think they're so under the radar right now too. I want to end with an Atlanta question for you. Another injury. It's Miles Robinson, one of the last ones you can afford to lose. We talk about balance. You mentioned it with Montreal, and I'll look at it from the way this conversation's gone with that balance between the game winners, like a Mukhtar, like a Mihailovic. Atlanta's got those. Araujo, Almada, Moreno. But now you've lost some of that grit and that solidity with Alonso gone, with Brad Kazan gone, with Miles Robinson gone. Right now, Andrew Gutman gets hurt last night. Don't know how long he's going to be out. How do you handle that? Seattle's had injuries where they've had to deal with this. You've seen it firsthand where you've lost key figures. Is it kind of a right now, hold on and let new leaders and new grit glue guys, maybe Franco Ibarra is one as a kid, but he's showing some of that? Is it just kind of holding serve right now and reconfiguring?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. If anyone knows what it feels like to lose a lot of your base players, your core group, if you will. I mean, it is Gonzalo Pineda, right? I mean, there's been times in Seattle where Fry's out and, Niko's out, and they're still able to manage things. Yemer was out for a while here, but when Gonzalo was an assistant, there was a point where Chad Marshall was gone, and there's a point where Roman is out. I mean, he understands what it takes. The problem with Atlanta though is that you are losing a guy who you're kind of hoping to build out of, and he's a guy that was in probably one of the key moments in his career between his national team and Atlanta. But yes, you do have to expect for leaders to come out to this group. It's got to be a team camaraderie and effort into just filling out those groups. You're going to have to expect Thiago Almada to just adapt quicker and say, hey, man, look, I know that you just got to this league, but you're one of the talented players here. You got to come up. Marcelino Moreno is a guy who I think has to up his game and be more consistent and be, whatever Gonzalo needs him to be. If you need to be a connector and be a guy that just takes a couple of touches and moves along, you need to do that. There has to be a message put across these players and say, look, I understand there's hard times and we've lost a lot of our key components and those players that make the difference, but now is your time to shine. The next man mentality is a cliche, but it's a real thing. And when guys believe it, they go out and work for you. So the Ibarras, that's what you need to go out there and see. I think this team in general has to be able to believe that they can win games and hold on and play for Gonzalo and play for that fan base, because it's not going to be easy. But there is a way for them to do it. They have enough quality and enough depth to continue winning games. Cisneros has been great, right? Yeah. That's a guy that you didn't expect, perhaps, or at least I didn't expect him to adapt this quickly and be this effective. So yeah, I think that you have the players, but the belief system has to be there. And Gonzalo needs to make sure that becomes the new DNA of this squad.
Yeah, you've got to find something else to build around, and it's on the fly. You suffer last night with 120 minutes and in a very hot Nashville, and now you go back home for an early match on Sunday against the New England Revolution, and you're still trying to figure this stuff out. We could talk about this all day. You got to go. We got to go. I got to get checked out of here before they kick me out of the Opryland Resort, Niko. I don't want to be hauled out of here. I got to pack up. So thank you for your time. And it was a late night for you as well. Thank you for your time. And we will talk more next week.
Yes, sir. Always a good time. Take it easy. We have a real quick one-on-one with Marcos Lopez. He should come out today about 1 p.m. Only in Spanish, but it's a good one. We talked to him a little bit yesterday, and all the highlights and interviews from last night games also on Pulso Sports. So appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Be good.
See you next week, Niko. Make sure you're following El Rolo NW on social media. Make sure you're following @soccer down here as well. So heading back to Atlanta today. Show in the morning, Friday show, MLS Weekend Whip Around, all the things you're used to seeing. Friday free kick, Mike Conti at 10 o'clock. Get that in the books, then get on the road. Going to Greenville, South Carolina tomorrow night for Greenville Triumph, Forward Madison, USL League One. We're doing a pre-match show focused on the Triumph before the game on our Twitch channel tomorrow evening. You can watch that match on ESPN+. Then coming back to Atlanta on Saturday, we're doing another special show Saturday afternoon, and it's a really special one from the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, the Stars, Stripes, and Soccer event that Atlanta United has done for years, supporting the troops, supporting veterans. Nick Khalifi's going to be hanging out with us. Darren Eales is going to stop by. Believe Greg Garza is going to stop by as well. It's going to be a lot of fun Saturday afternoon there. I will be leaving from that to go to Carrollton to call the Georgia Storm NPSL match on their stream, possibly sleeping after that. And then it depends on Sunday. I'll just be investing in Red Bull and have a giant case, which I got to leave now so I can stop and get some Red Bull to drive home. So thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for all the back and forth and questions. It was a packed show today. Sorry we couldn't get to everything, but I think we hit most of the major talking points. Cross your fingers for Andrew Gutman. I don't think it's anywhere near the long-term issues that we've seen on some of the other injuries, but it really needs to be on the shorter side of things. You need as many healthy bodies as you could possibly find right now. We will hear from Gonzalo Pineda tomorrow after training to get some updates. I don't know, honestly, how much of an update that they'll be able to give at that point, because it's probably going to be a Saturday decision on a lot of this lineup as you get ready for Sunday. But we'll try to figure it out. We'll try to figure everything else out as we will as well. We'll drive home safely, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you for hanging out with us. Much plati, y'all.
Much plati, y'all.